That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your flap. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning. Welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with yours truly, right here as we roll on this holiday Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Hopefully, obviously, having the day off for a lot of you is very nice. It's very enjoyable. The 3-day weekend here. Go a little skiing. And a little mountain weekend, whatever you got to do as we move on here midway through January. It's always nice to have a 3-day weekend, right? No one will ever scoff at that. But, also important to remember the reason for the day. And hopefully, at least, we are getting closer to what Dr. King ultimately dreamed of and having a united nation, if you will, moving forward. But anyway, welcome. Happy Monday. We appreciate you starting off your week with us right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. A lot to get into because now we started with 32 teams back in September. Now we sit here with just 4 remaining. Buccaneers and Packers in the NFC and the AFC, Bills and Chiefs. Arguably 4 of the best teams playing some of their best football right now. Fitting that the best 4 teams are left in the NFL. Going to make a very exciting conference championship weekend next weekend. But we have a lot to get into from this past weekend. As a reminder, we're always coming to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios with its great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person, Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, or anywhere online at BigItalyPizza.com. 4 games, 4 NFL games over this weekend, and man, there is just so much to get into, so much to talk about that we definitely don't have enough time here in the next 2 hours. We'll try to squeeze in as much reaction to all these games and all the rumor mills, coaching hirings, potential quarterbacks on the move. This weekend had it all in terms of the rumors, in terms of the hirings. It is jam-packed, and we'll try our best here in the next 2 hours, like I said, to get as much in as possible. 9:20, we will hit on the finale of Drew Brees, a sad finale. All but official at this point that Drew Brees played his last game as a Saint as they were beaten by the Buccaneers 30-20. We'll get into that in 15 minutes. Tyler Dunne, go-along TD, just an incredible writer, especially when it comes to features, when it comes to profiling, deep dive stories in the NFL. No one does it better. Tyler will join us 9:40 Eastern to recap what it is a wild divisional round weekend and also hit out a few rumors. And should professional owners be held more accountable? We'll discuss that with Ty and also get that at the end of the show because what's going on in Houston right now? We'll talk a lot about the playoff games happening this weekend, but what is going on with the Texans and the reason for it, primarily being their owner, Cal McNair. Man, personally for me, if I was a Texans fan and they end up trading Deshaun Watson, I would be sick to my stomach. That maybe would be enough to drive me away, to be honest. So we'll get into that with Tyler, and then again, we'll do that to end the show at 10:40. And I want to at least react to the Bills-Ravens game at the top of the second hour, 10 o'clock Eastern. But in the way of, should the Ravens pay Lamar Jackson? There's a story before the game that they were thinking about, and entertaining the idea of extending Lamar Jackson, giving him an extension this offseason. Well, does Saturday night's game change that in your mind? We will discuss. And the Packers. Do the Buccaneers have any shot at slowing down the Packers? We'll get into that as well. But I do want to start off with, at least to me, in my mind, the most impressive performance of the weekend. The most, not in terms of outcome, but in terms of how we got here, the most unexpected result of the weekend. A game that, I thought at least had potential to be close with the way the Browns, run the ball, with the way their strategies can get after the quarterback of Myles Garrett. I thought they would pose some sort of fight, but not like we saw. Because I want to start with how the Chiefs, without the best player on the planet for a quarter and a half, were still able to get past Cleveland and advance to the AFC title game for the 3rd consecutive year. Because, man, I know you watching that, I was watching that, could not believe what we were seeing. Chiefs won 22-17. And to me, at least, the main take would come out of this game. Prove just how hard it is to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously, that's an obvious statement, right? But even, we knew how hard it was when they were fully healthy, or when they had Patrick Mahomes, when they had Tyreek Hill, when they had Travis Kelce, when they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sammy Watkins, when their offensive line was healthy. Their offense is almost impossible to stop when everyone is there. But they have injuries on the offensive line. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not play in yesterday's game. And obviously, as we know, biggest story of the weekend, Patrick Mahomes goes down, concussion protocol after he was tackled midway through the 3rd quarter, do not return. And instead, Chad Henne, a man that I'm sure a lot of you forgot was even in the league. Chad Henne. Anything is possible. And this guy steps up and delivers a victory for Kansas City. Because it wasn't just him coming in, kind of just taking the air out of the ball and just getting lucky and winning. He, along with Andy Reid and along with that defense, won the game for the Chiefs. And even when you knock out the best player on the planet, even when Patrick Mahomes out for a quarter and a half in a close game, not a blowout, but a game that, hey, Cleveland scores a touchdown. They're only down by 5 points with a lot of time to go. Chiefs still found a way to win. Incredible. Honestly impressive. Because I'll ask you this, right? How many teams in the NFL, honestly, in the playoffs, if their best player, specifically if it's their quarterback, if they go down, how many of them are still winning that game? You want to reference, when Nick Foles did step in for Carson Wentz, winning a Super Bowl back in 2017. Personally, I'd argue that, hey, he had some time in the regular season to start. It's a little bit different when at least you're going to be the starter going in compared to Chad Henne, who woke up, I'm sure, Sunday morning not thinking his services will be needed at all. If anything, he'll come and take a few knees if this game got out of hand. And instead, as we know, one speed option, one tackle, all of a sudden now Chad Henne, not only in the game, He is in the game to try to win the game for Kansas City. Keep their season going. A 14-2 year that could potentially be thrown away because of one hit. That's what impressed me the most. Because despite having the best player in all of the NFL on your team, right? And it's easy. When you have Patrick Mahomes, it is easy to rely on him to win you games. It's easy to put a lot of the credit on Mahomes for the Chiefs being so successful. But what they showed you yesterday, what Andy Reid showed you yesterday, what Chad Henne even showed you yesterday, and what that defense showed you yesterday is that, hey, this team isn't about one player. As cliche as that sounds, this roster is so deep up and down that sure, Mahomes gets a lot of the credit. The flashy plays that he has are brilliant. The stats he puts up are mind-boggling. But even with that said, there's so much around him that props him up, that makes him be able to be the best player in the NFL. So I couldn't believe, as soon as he goes down, the air out of the balloon wasn't, let out, which I feel like is a very natural reaction. Hey, the best player in the world goes out. Oh, crap. We're in big trouble here. Travis Kelce, I want to play this cut for you, because after the game, he talked about basically how they still had confidence in Chad Henne, and basically they didn't miss a beat, which to me is impressive.
Nothing changed, man. Nothing changed. Chad came in and uplifted us. We uplifted him, and we just rallied together, man. And that's what this team did, offensively, defensively, special teams. We circled the wagon and got a little bit tighter as a group, and found a way to win against a good football team. I mean, honestly, to say nothing changed when the best player in your team, when the best player in the league goes down. Honestly, that's credit to, again, the entire team. It's just, to me, it's just mind-boggling. Because you think, okay, I thought personally, I've said it for a while now, I thought the Chiefs are going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. When they're healthy, when things are clicking, there's no one that can beat them personally. And now, you had an opportunity as the Browns, as a team in the AFC, the door was open for you to knock them out. A door was open for you to prevent the Chiefs from going to back-to-back Super Bowls in the AFC and preventing them from winning back-to-back Super Bowls in the MVP. But Andy Reid, this defense, and Chad Henne said, no way. And look, I'll be honest. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. When Chad Henne throws that interception in the end zone, when he throws a deep ball, and he threw it so confident, like, wow, this guy must be wide open. And yeah, the guy he was throwing to was wide open. The only issue is he wore a Cleveland Browns jersey. When he threw the interception, honestly, I thought, okay, that's it. That's it. Great year, Kansas City, 14-2. When Mahomes was in for the first 2.5 quarters, his offense was looking good. They're moving the ball up and down the field. They had this game won. But, how many teams are truly going to win when your best player goes out and you need a backup to step up in a big spot here? I truly thought the interception, once that was thrown, that was it. Browns had the momentum. They were starting to move the ball on offense. I thought, okay, nice year. Can't blame them. And hey, Patrick Mahomes goes down. Who's going to be mad at the Chiefs? Who can honestly say, hey, you should have won that game? Honestly. It's all right. Nothing to feel bad about. Come back next year. Hope Mahomes doesn't get hurt, and you'll be back and ready to go. But instead, Andy Reid, this defense took control, I should say, stepped up and said, no way. Not this year. So impressively, as you just heard Travis Kelce say, team didn't miss a beat. That was even true when Chad Henne throws the interception, because I'll be honest. I'd have a tough time if I was a member of that defense watching that pick. And again, that was just an awful pick where I don't even know where he was throwing the ball to. A lot of Browns in coverage, not a lot of Chiefs in the area. Basically just threw up a prayer. And you throw an interception. Honestly, if I'm on the defense, I'm like, oh boy, we're in trouble. But they didn't hang their head. And so they stepped up. To their credit, they got the Browns off the field. And once they got that stop with just over 4 minutes left, honestly, Andy Reid went to the lab and showed why he, as a head coach, is the best closer in the NFL. Said this after, I believe it was the Dolphins game earlier this year. The Chiefs are the best closing team in the NFL. If you give them the ball, 4 minutes left to go, 3 minutes left to go, in a kill-the-clock situation, right, where they are ahead by a field goal, a touchdown, whatever it is, and they just basically don't want to give the ball back to their team. They are so good and so talented in those situations of killing the clock, of running a 4-minute offense, of bleeding 3 minutes off the clock, that you don't get the ball back. You know, when it almost gets to the point where there's about 5 or so minutes left and less, you got to think about 4-down territory no matter really where it is on the field, because the Chiefs almost every single time execute the 4-minute offense and run out the clock. In this situation, again, 4:09 left. You're up by 5. Chiefs, the Browns punt. Like, all right, no big deal. 3 and out. Chad Henne's at quarterback. I mean, they're probably going to run the ball 3 times. I mean, honestly, how many coaches in the NFL with your backup quarterback in the game who just threw an awful interception the drive before when you are up by 5? How many of them are handing the ball off 3 times, maybe praying for, one of those runs to break free for a first down, but playing ultra conservative, playing not to lose, and basically saying, hey, the defense, you got to get us one more stop here. You got to go win us the game. Because honestly, we are not going to put the ball in Chad Henne's hands to win the game. Patrick Mahomes, sure, because they throw the ball a ton in that 4-minute offense, which makes them so hard to get off the field. Because just when you think most teams run the ball to be conservative, that's when Andy Reid and the Chiefs turn on their aggressiveness. They throw the ball. They trust Mahomes. They trust Kelsey. They trust Hill. And that trust pays off. But honestly, if you're Andy Reid, are you honestly trusting Chad Henne? I'm sure as hell not. So I thought for sure, all right, run the ball 3 times. Probably, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, punt the ball, and then hope you can get a defensive stand here to go win you the game. But Andy Reid, no way. He threw the ball 3 times in that sequence. 3 times with Chad Henne. Insanity. And to me, obviously, we'll talk about the 4th down call in a second here. But equally as impressive as the 4th down call was the play before it. 3rd and 14. Again, knowing the situation you have, Chad Henne, the drive before, throws an interception. It is 3rd and 14, right before the 2-minute warning. An incomplete pass, you give the Browns basically a free timeout right before the 2-minute warning. Or right after the 2-minute warning, I should say. Excuse me. Instead, 3rd and 14, most coaches hands it off, play conservative. Chad Henne is dropping back to throw the ball. And obviously, we'll talk about the scramble. But don't forget, the scramble was set up because they dropped back to throw the ball. Andy Reid on 3rd and 14 was throwing to get the first down. It wasn't a designed run. There wasn't a screen pass there where it's like catch the ball, get the ball out of your hands quickly, and just hope to get a first down. This was dropping back. I'm looking to throw the ball 15 yards, get a first down, and end it. It wasn't there, as we know, obviously. Henne scrambles around, gets 13 yards, sets up the 4th and 1. And not only at 4th and 1, does Andy Reid show his confidence. He shows off his incredible play calling. Play call was unbelievable, and we've seen that play before. But how about his confidence? How about the stones on Andy Reid to go for it on 4th down? In your own end, clock running, with a backup quarterback in. He says, you know what? We're good. This is what we want. We'll put the ball in our backup quarterback's hands. We will have our season rest on Chad Henne's shoulders. I mean, the testicular fortitude it took from Andy Reid, I'll say this, I don't have the stones to do it. I would not have the cojones to do it. And sitting there watching the clock bleed, I thought, no way they're going to snap the ball. Sit here, maybe take a delay game, just bleed the clock down, and as soon as that ball snapped, my eyes bugged out of my head, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it, but hey, guess what happened? The aggressiveness paid off. They get the first down. Now they're moving on. Speaking of closing out the game, speaking of getting that first down, here's Andy Reid post-game talking about his team and how proud he is of them closing it out with 4 minutes to go.
The defensive stand at the end was huge. Chad Henne's run was huge. And then his couple of throws there toward the end were also big.
Obviously, look, right? I mean, we just talked about defense getting a huge stop. Chad Henne making a few throws at the end to salt the game away. And even more impressive, I'll drop a stat here for you from the Live Sports Bureau that made Andy Reid's 4th and 1 call even that much more impressive. So according to Elias, this was the first 4th down conversion since 1970 that came in a team's own territory while leading in the final 5 minutes of the game. Think about that. Since the NFL merger back in 1970, this was the first fourth down conversion when it came in a team's own end who was leading the game with under 5 minutes to go. Nobody does that. They didn't have the number, but I don't even know how many times teams went for it. Forget, being the first one to convert. I bet you probably not even 5 attempts. Historically, it is a position that we have never seen many teams go for at all. And to Andy Reid's credit, he was aggressive, he believed in his team, and he believed even in a guy in Chad Henne, a backup quarterback, to get the job done, and those guys paid off Andy Reid's belief. So look, I don't want to kind of throw cliches at you. But at least to me, one of my biggest takeaways is that this game truly showed how football is truly a team game. Best player on the planet goes out. Chiefs are still able to win the game. Mahomes is amazing. I'm not trying to take anything away from his success. But there's a lot going into Mahomes' success outside of his just pure talent. It's Andy Reid's play calling. It's the skill positions around him. Right, there's a ton of skill in that offense. It's the defense. Bend but don't break, but when they need a big stop, getting that big stop in the big moment. So coming out of this game, to me, in my mind, when Patrick Mahomes went out midway through the third quarter, that was the best opportunity for anyone in the AFC and maybe anyone in football to prevent the Chiefs from going to back-to-back Super Bowls. That was the door right there, right? That was the window. That was the chance. Browns couldn't do it. To me, assuming Patrick Mahomes is healthy and will start next week, and by all reports, at least Jay Glazer after the game reported that Mahomes should be good to go. It was more of a whiplash situation than an actual concussion, if you will. That was the best opportunity for anyone in the NFL to prevent the Chiefs from going to back-to-back Super Bowls, winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Couldn't do it. And to me, they're going to go on their way. They survived the biggest test thrown their way, and I think the Chiefs will only be better for it going forward. So I'm curious your thoughts. Coming out of this game, right? Chiefs advanced to the AFC title game. Was that the best shot of any team to beat the Chiefs? Can the Bills beat Kansas City? Or are the Chiefs going to go to back-to-back Super Bowls? Now, for me, that was it. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, and I still think they're going to win the Super Bowl. The NFL had their opportunity. Quarter and a half, no Patrick Mahomes, couldn't get it done. So get your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Also tweet me directly at Ryan Hickey Show. Was this the NFL's best shot at eliminating the Chiefs here in 2020? What's your belief in the Bills? Can they go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs? Again, comment on the live stream on Facebook. You can tweet us at WWSRN_radio. Tweet me directly at Ryan Hickey Show. When we come back, a sad, sad finale for Drew Brees. Should we be surprised, though? I'll give you my answer next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards, and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky?
Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio.
That was loud. My apologies. My apologies. But as you hear, we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show. If you're a little sleepy on this Monday morning, I think that music just woke you up. I know it woke me up. Even with one coffee, I mean, wow. That was jarring. So my apologies with that. We are still trying to perfect the music, if you will. So I didn't mean to blow out your eardrums. Hopefully it didn't scare you. If you're listening and, may have woke the whole house up or, whew. All right. So now that we have regrouped, we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this Monday morning. A gorgeous Monday morning, especially for January. We've been pretty lucky so far with this weather. Hopefully it is nice wherever you are as well, and we appreciate you starting off the week with us right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The NFL, right? Browns, Bills, Buccaneers, Packers. Obviously all fighting for the Super Bowl. To me, watching what happened yesterday, Patrick Mahomes going out midway through the third quarter, having to finish the game, the final quarter and a half, without the best player on the planet. That was the entire NFL's best shot at preventing the Chiefs from going to back-to-back Super Bowls, for preventing them from winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Browns played tough, had their shot, weren't able to come through, and for me at least, I don't see now this team losing after that. And if you can win with Chad Henne, and you can win with Chad Henne throwing the ball in massive spots, including 4th and 1 in your own territory, less than 2 minutes ago, where you turn the ball over, Browns have a short field touchdown, wins the game. Forget ties the game, wins the game. The stones it took for Andy Reid to call that, and not only that, the belief, the execution of Chad Henne to get the job done here, incredible. So at least for me, that was the biggest opportunity the NFL had to knock the Chiefs out. Didn't do so. They'll move on. I believe, it sounds like from all reports, so far early on, Patrick Mahomes will play. Obviously, it's a long week, a long way to go. At least Jay Glazer, after the game, made it sound like it was pretty positive, so we'll see. But at least for me, that was a shot. That was a chance. Chiefs still prevailed, and I don't think that anyone's going to knock them off after that. So I want to start, we'll get your Chiefs thoughts as well throughout the show. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSR_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show also on Twitter, if you will. But I do want to transition quickly before we get to Tyler Dunne in 10 minutes. A sad finale in New Orleans. Buccaneers, as we know, knock off the Chiefs last night, 30-20, revenge their 2 regular season losses to New Orleans. And in doing so, end Drew Brees' career most likely with a tough playoff loss. And I'll be honest, coming out of this game, my biggest takeaway, my biggest thought, an obvious one, again, similar to the Chiefs, I apologize, but sometimes the obvious ones are the right ones. This game highlighted on both sides, but obviously specifically more with Drew Brees, just how quickly play can slip in the NFL. How quickly your talent can just fall right off the table. Age catches up to everyone in the NFL. Well, age catches up to everyone in the world, honestly, right? Father Time is undefeated. But we saw it on full display yesterday with Drew Brees. Now, I hope the Buccaneers, obviously, super pumped up, super happy you won the game. Take note. Keep that in the back of your mind, the way Drew Brees played, how he eviscerated you in week number 9, and how he basically gifted you that win last night. Take notice, because Tom Brady's coming back next year. He'll be 44. Just maybe have a future backup plan just in case next year, because you see how quickly play can slide and how quick it can happen. Neither quarterback played particularly well yesterday. But again, because it's Drew Brees' last game, we'll focus more on Drew and his play. He finished out the game 19-34, just 134 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 134 yards, the lowest amount of yards thrown in a game that he's finished. He had less than that against the 49ers, but he went out at halftime with that rib injury. But again, in terms of playing a full game, this was the lowest amount of yards he played. Now, the question is, now we'll get this out of the way first. We assume that this is Drew Brees' last game. Nothing official. He's never actually come out and officially said, I'm retiring. He was asked that post-game. Here's Drew Brees' answer to that.
Well, I'll answer this question one time, and that is that I'm going to give myself an opportunity to think about the season, think about a lot of things, just like I did last year, and make a decision.
So nothing official. He will take time to make a decision in the offseason, I should say, and decide whether he wants to come back for another year. Now, I don't think Drew Brees is going to come back. I don't think the Saints expect Drew Brees to come back. And I honestly, I hope for Drew Brees' sake that he doesn't come back. I understand this is a sad way to go out, losing at home for the 3rd straight year in the playoffs, throwing 3 interceptions against, a team that you have owned in the regular season, especially this year, losing to a guy whose quarterback is even older than you. But let's be honest here for a second. Drew Brees had an amazing career, not taking anything away from that. But this ending that we saw last night, it's been building for a few years now. It really has. I've said this before, and I want to rehash it here quickly. Going back to 2018 is kind of when I first saw this decline coming. By 2018, Drew Brees had a phenomenal first 11 games of the regular season. 285 passing yards per game, 2.6 touchdowns per game Drew Brees threw the first 11 games of 2018. So just 2 years ago. But those last 4 games of the regular season, his play dropped. 214 yards per game he averaged, 0.75 touchdowns. So 285 yards per game in the first 11 games, passing per game, dropped to 214. 2.6 touchdowns per game dropped to 0.75. And as we know, that play carried over into the playoffs. 20 points versus the Eagles. 1 Alshon Jeffrey passed away. For maybe Nick Foles going back to the NFC title game. 23 points versus the Rams. Obviously, the missed pass interference call is the big talking point there, but don't forget Drew Brees threw an interception in overtime that helped put the Rams in position to win that game. All right, maybe it's right out of gas. A one-off. Comes back, 2019, misses 5 games because of a thumb injury. That almost gave him some new life, some fresh blood. Ending the regular season strong. But what happened in the playoffs, as we know, his play struggled again, 208 yards, passing against the Vikings last year, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. As the Saints had their season end in the wild card round to Kirk Cousins in a sold-out, raucous environment at the Superdome. Drew Brees didn't play well, Saints lost. So I tried this year, at least the warning signs, at least for me, were there. The postseason struggles were real. And after week 2, after week number 2 against the Raiders, in which they lost on Monday Night Football, I tried to warn you. This play from Drew Brees wasn't going to get them to the Super Bowl. He refused to push the ball down the field back in week number 2. And obviously, as you know, as you watched last night, that inability or unwillingness or both to throw the ball down the field is what really hurt the Saints offense yesterday. And there was zero threat of a pass being thrown over 15 yards. And guess what happened? What did we see yesterday? Every single Buccaneers defender was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. They gave these wide receivers no breathing room. They struggled to go open in part because these DBs were all over them. Even Michael Thomas. Ironically enough, his Twitter handle at @Can'tGuardMike. Well, guess what? He was guarded yesterday. No receptions. Goose egg. He had as many catches as me and you did yesterday on 4 targets. Why? He had no breathing room to start. Bucs were all over him from the jump. No threat of the deep ball got them intimidated, and they pushed him around. They got in his face. They were double covering him. They gave him no room for error, or really no margin at all. And he was shut out. One of the best wide receivers, the guy who he claims can't be guarded by anyone, was guarded indeed. So this is the danger that the Saints had this season when they put all their eggs in the Drew Brees basket. Because guess what? When Father Time catches up, and he's been showing some signs, he's been giving the Saints some warning signs in 2018 and 2019. Still ran it back. They had Jameis Winston, which I thought, okay, if you want to win a Super Bowl, maybe Jameis, putting Jameis in would have been a better option. Did not do that. And as you see, Father Time is undefeated. Very few times that Father Time takes over and it actually works out. With Peyton Manning, it worked out. Now, looking back, you talk about the luck that had to happen. And having an historically great defense carry you through the regular season, through the playoffs, through the Super Bowl. You need to have, again, an historically elite unit just to have a chance to outduel Father Time. I actually went back last night and looked at Peyton Manning's final stats from his final year. I couldn't believe it. This is shocking to me. Now, again, I feel like we forget about this a lot because the lasting image we have of Peyton Manning's final year is him raising the Lombardi Trophy. So that obviously kind of wipes away any bad image you have. But in that regular season, Peyton Manning threw 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. A 9-17 touchdown interception ratio. That mind-blowing. I totally forgot, honestly. But again, because the lasting image we have is him raising the Lombardi Trophy, it's easy to forget. That is an example when you beat Father Time, but those are few and far between. So I get it as a competitor. It's hard to hang it up. It's hard to admit that you just aren't good enough anymore. But at the same time, you know what that does? That leads to performances like we watched last night. Because it was tough to watch Drew Brees. It really was. I hope for his sake that he hangs it up. Hope for the Saints' sake he hangs it up. Because there's no way he can run this back. An incredibly great career. Congratulate Drew on all his success. First ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best to ever do it without a doubt. No question. Just fortunate for him. The end came in ugly fashion on a national stage. So when we come back, I do want to talk about a little more with Tyler Dunne. GoLongTD.com, an incredibly talented, gifted NFL writer and reporter. We'll discuss, was this the last we've seen of Drew Brees? And if you want to get a little nuts here, should Sean Payton maybe have done what's best for the team? Should he have put Jameis Winston? Plus, we'll react to all the rest of the divisional round games as well. We will do that with Tyler Dunne next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
us at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. An incredible weekend of football here as we just witnessed 4 incredibly great divisional games going on. As we know now, the Chiefs advance, the Bills advance for an incredible Josh Allen-Patrick Mahomes matchup. On the other side, in the NFC, an old guard, if you will, right? Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Incredibly 4 entertaining games on the field. A lot of coaching news, a lot of quarterback drama off the field, and jam-packed weekend we had this past weekend. So no better person to talk about it all than with Tyler Dunne. Go Long NFL writer. You can find his website, golongtd.com. You can find all his tremendous work and opinions on Twitter at Ty Dunne, Dunne spelled D-U-N-N-E. Tyler, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes here. After watching that just incredibly entertaining weekend, I mean, has your head kind of settled down at all and have all the thoughts kind of finally settled in? Because I feel like every time we watch something incredible, boom, another big breaking news happens. Boom, another incredible matchup happens. It was one of the best weekends I feel like we've had here in a while.
It was. This is probably my favorite football weekend of the year. I mean, you get 2 games on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, just a ton of talent, ton of great quarterback play. And it wasn't even, Saturday, the Bills-Ravens game, that was the one I was really looking forward to. And to be honest, it really wasn't that great of a game.
Right.
With all the wind and the doinks and, Lamar getting shut down and Allen throwing every play. I mean, it was kind of ugly there for a little while. But it picked up a little bit toward the end with that pick six, and Louisville Sunday was great. I mean, that did not disappoint. What about the drama? Right when you're ready to go to Lowe's or Home Depot there on Sunday, and you think the Chiefs got this locked up. I mean, no lie. I was sitting with my wife. I'm like, I could probably go to Lowe's and get some stuff. And then you start watching the games, like, I better stay right here. This isn't over,
right?
Because of the concussion protocol, whatever's going on there. But yeah, Andy Reid, what can you say, man? I mean, that to me is the takeaway of the weekend. The fact that the Browns punted their season away, and Andy Reid went for it on 4th and short with a backup quarterback throwing the ball, risking everything. This is not the Andy Reid of Philadelphia. I mean, his evolution as a head coach is just remarkable. He's the best in the NFL, and he might be the most important person left in the tournament, really.
Couldn't agree more. Let's start right there, Tyler, because like you just said, I mean, the transformation he has from Mr. Conservative, he coaches to lose the game in Philly. Now all of a sudden he's Mr. Aggressive. He's Mr. Forward thinking, Mr. Analytics when it comes to the Chiefs. I mean, even Elias Sports Bureau, this stat blew my mind. I saw it on SportsCenter last night. Since 1970, this was the first conversion when a team was leading in the final 5 minutes of the game when they went for it in their own end. And it's like, I don't even know. They didn't say how many conversions at least were attempted, but at least to have that first conversion in almost 50 years of football, I mean, that has to be the gutsiest fourth down call. And not to be a prisoner of the moment, but is that the gutsiest fourth down call maybe we've ever seen?
It's definitely one of the most gutsiest that I can remember watching this game. And, my mind just went back to Green Bay, Seattle, 2014 NFC Championship game. I was covering that game at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel at the time. And what did Mike McCarthy do in the first half? He kicked field goals at the 1-yard line twice. He punted on 4th and inches at the 48. He ran the ball 3 times, up 19-7 with 4 minutes left. I mean, it's no coincidence that they lost that game. I mean, if you coach scared, you're going to play scared, and they gave that game away, and they had no business giving it away. So I really think that Andy Reid just kind of understands that, and he knows that when you make decisions like this, it kind of feeds into the energy of your entire team. Decisions like that make your team, and that's why the Chiefs are the Chiefs. That's why Mahomes is Mahomes, Reid is Reid, and as long as Mahomes is healthy, I don't know how anybody really beats this team. I mean, Buffalo's been great. But at Arrowhead, when you're coaching this way and you've got Patrick Mahomes, damn, I don't know. I'm not betting against that.
That leads to my next question perfectly. Just going to ask because, I mean, I'm not sure what your feelings were preseason, but with the Chiefs running basically the entire team back from last year, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. And then, like you said, you watch them in this game that, I thought they would win convincingly. And all of a sudden, like I said, Patrick Mahomes goes down. And now you have Chad Henne for a quarter and a half in a close game. Was this the best chance of anyone left in the NFL to basically prevent the Chiefs from going to back-to-back Super Bowls, let alone winning back-to-back Super Bowls? Was the moment right there when Patrick Mahomes goes out in that quarter and a half, was that the window of opportunity for the rest of the NFL to prevent Kansas City from going to back-to-back and repeating as champions?
I won't go that far quite yet. I definitely agree. Like, there's no better player on the planet, and it's like, if you have a chance to slay the dragon, you better do it and not punt on 4th and 9. But, still watching that Bucs Saints game with Tom Brady and all those weapons, and I mean, you've got a quarterback who's on a mission there all the time, and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, obviously he'll probably win MVP. All the weapons that they have in Green Bay. Once upon a time, everybody was crying that they didn't have any weapons. I think that, maybe it's not time to completely dismiss the Bills. I mean, they've got something special brewing. They make a big play in a big moment. So I'm with you. I think it's the Chiefs. I think it's Mahomes. I think they win it all. But I don't think it's going to be a landslide. I think that's what's going to make championship weekend and the Super Bowl just wild to watch. You've got so many great quarterbacks. You've got the old guard, like you said. You've got the 2 young guns coming up. And anything can happen, really. Absolutely anything can happen right now.
I agree. It is wide open. I'm curious. We're talking to Tyler Dunne. GoLongTD.com is where you can find all his tremendous work, incredible features, a great, gifted, and talented NFL writer. You just mentioned the Bills there, Tyler. I'm curious because in the 2 games, at least in the playoffs, and just looking at their playoff performance so far, first game, Josh Allen played well. The offense won the game. Their defense was shredded by Philip Rivers and the Colts, but they made enough plays at the end to get it done. As you mentioned on Saturday night, a lot of hype. I thought the Ravens honestly were going to go in there and win, and just a very sloppy performance. Maybe the wind had a lot to do with that on both sides, as we saw a low-scoring 17-3 game. But again, the defense bailed out Buffalo. The offense struggled with Josh Allen scoring just 10 points. I'm curious. So seeing two games and seeing one game where the offense plays well, the defense struggles. The next game, the defense plays well, the offense struggles. Is that a cause for maybe concern that the Bills, can't put a complete game together? Or, they're 2-0 in games where they haven't played well. Is that a source of optimism, if you will, that, hey, they're still winning games and they haven't even played their best football yet?
Watching this team, Ryan, it's just wild how they win in just different ways every week. And they don't, remember, they don't even have a running game. There's no semblance of a running game at this point.
Yep.
So that's why Brian Daboll is literally throwing every single play. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we never seen anything like that in a playoff game. But it's different ways. I mean, it's Stephon Diggs one week. It's Cole Beasley another week. It's John Brown. It's Isaiah McKenzie. It's Devin Singletary. It's defensively Taron Johnson. I mean, he had the pick six against Pittsburgh earlier this year, and obviously the pick six there against Baltimore completely changed that game. Jerry Hughes, the longest tenured Bill. They traded for him way back in 2013. It was kind of a washout of a first-round pick by Indianapolis.
As a Colts fan, I remember that well. I can't believe the success. Yeah. Credit to the Bills. They turned them around.
Shepard, yeah. It's just crazy. I mean, they win in different ways. They can win a low-scoring game and hold Lamar Jackson to 3 points. They can win a high-scoring game and just completely outscore, Russell Wilson when Russ was really at his peak earlier in the year. They just adapt and know what kind of game they have to play in that moment. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what gives me I'm not going to just write them off, I guess, at Arrowhead. I think that they can go in there and not stop Patrick Mahomes. Nobody can, but they could at least hang in there with them because we've seen their offense go drive for drive with teams. And look, Kansas City's secondary is not going to be nearly as good as Baltimore's secondary. Marlon Humphrey took Cole Beasley out of the game. They're nasty. They get after you. I think that it could be a little bit of a change there where, hey, if they want to throw every play against the Chiefs, they're probably going to have a lot more success than they did against Baltimore. And Sean McDermott just is his finger on the pulse of this team at all times. It's going to be just a fascinating game to watch.
At Ty Dunne is where you can find all of Tyler's work. Dunne spelled Dunne. So in that game, on the flip side, right, we see Lamar Jackson struggle. He's 1-3 now in the playoffs. A lot of playoff narratives kind of circling around Lamar. I'm curious because heading into this game, at least there were some rumors, there were some reports that hey, the Ravens are thinking about extending Lamar Jackson this offseason. Out of that game, is there any pause in your mind as the Ravens whether they should extend him or not, or do you think, hey, listen, he won an MVP. He's still, 31-10, I believe is his regular season record, or just over a record when he starts a game for the Ravens. Has he done enough already to deserve an extension similar to maybe a Deshaun Watson? Or coming out of that game, do you have pause that, hey, maybe we can't trust Lamar going forward to be our franchise guy the next 5 years?
Love Lamar Jackson. Loved his last month and a half of the season. He was unstoppable. I think he can win this way because we just haven't seen a quarterback with 4.2 speed just unleashed in all these different creative ways. But I don't know how you can watch that game against Buffalo and not have reservations about paying him north of $30-35 million a year. Like, this is 3 years in a row now where a team in the playoffs forced him to pass and he couldn't do it. It was ugly. I mean, it was really ugly. They couldn't finish drives. They couldn't get anything going with him, even as a runner. They bottled him up. Their game plan just solved Lamar Jackson, it seemed. So I think that if you're the Ravens, you do everything you can to wait. I mean, you don't really have a plan B. It's not like you just give up on the guy. I mean, he did win the MVP, and he did have a remarkable December this season. I just don't know if you're in a rush to give him that Deshaun Watson money, that Patrick Mahomes money. I think the Bills, they're probably itching to pay Allen and lock him up, where Baltimore, you kind of know what he is at this point, and you have to wonder, like, is it even possible for him to develop more as a passer? I think what they'll probably do, if they do something bold, is go a different direction schematically and maybe find a new coordinator. As great as Greg Roman has been there, like Steve Smith was pretty scathing in his criticism. He played for the Ravens. I mean, he knows guys in that offense and basically said, like, this is an elementary, simplistic, bland scheme for route combinations. I mean, maybe you just try to find a different coordinator who's going to find a way to use Lamar and find a way to take this passing game to the next level. You just decide, like, we're all in on Lamar. to the point of not paying him that quite yet. You get him a new receiver, you get him a new coordinator, you do all this stuff. I'm not going to say it's going to work because at the end of the day, if you don't have the quarterback, you don't have the quarterback. But I think you do have to try something else different around him before you just give him all that money. I don't think that you can just do that right now.
We saw Josh Allen's transformation, right, from the first 2 years without Stephon Diggs to this year. I mean, his numbers go from bottom of the league in terms of completion percentage, quarterback rating, to top of the league, all in one offseason. You know, you can contribute a lot of that, not only his maturity, but also Stephon Diggs being that safety blanket, being that automatic, you know, basically receiver that you throw in the ball, he'll catch it more times than not. Is that – I don't want to oversimplify Lamar Jackson's struggles because you're right. There's a lot more there that's on him, not just, you know, the offense. Is it possible that we could see a similar jump for Lamar if they were to get – now, obviously, this is easier said than done. I don't know if Julio Jones is available, even if an Allen Robinson is good enough as a receiver to kind of be that Stephon Diggs type receiver to make that change. Is it as simple as just basically trying to get a bona fide number one receiver to maybe change Lamar's ways, or is it, you know, more than that where you have more concerns than just one stud receiver changing the offense?
Yeah, I definitely would do that. Like, I mean, you're in at this point if you're Baltimore. I don't think you're just going to, like, start over a quarterback this offseason. So I think at the very least you try to get him another weapon and see if that works. I don't know if it's going to work. It's the whole chicken or the egg thing, right?
Right.
Like, does a stud receiver make your quarterback better, or does your quarterback have to elevate everybody around him? And I'll be honest, like, when the Bills trade went down with Stephon Diggs, you know, I was talking to people around the league at the time too. I didn't know if this was going to work. I really wasn't sure if it was going to work. And I think a lot of scouts had the same belief. I mean, this is a quarterback who was 32nd in the league in completion percentage, dead last, back-to-back seasons. We've been told forever that you can't improve accuracy. I mean, and that's kind of just part of who you are. And he did. He worked at it. He got better. And he absolutely has elevated everybody around him. That the Stephon Diggs trade, I mean, it's maybe the best in franchise history. It's right up there. So it can happen. And I think the fact that Lamar Jackson is special and he's got these gifts. I mean, I'm the most pro Lamar Jackson guy you'll find in the business. I love him. I just love everything he can do. But you still don't know the answer to that question. Like, if you get him a stud receiver, which they should do, you know, they should try to, because you're in at this point. I still don't know if it's going to work, because we've just seen him unable to hit open receivers in playoff moments, and we've seen teams dare him to win through the air, and he hasn't been able to do it. So to answer your question, yeah, they should do it. I think they should wait on the contract, get him some weapons, see if that works, but I still don't know if it's going to work.
I know I mean, it was maybe arguably the worst timing ever for Lamar Jackson to probably have the worst game of his career in a spot like that. It's going to put the Ravens, like you said, in a precarious situation this summer or this offseason as well. It's going to be, oh man, I don't envy the Ravens at all. We're talking with Tyler Dunne. Go Long TD is where you could find all his great work. So Tyler, we're speaking of another quarterback who had their struggles in the postseason, and that unfortunately last night was Drew Brees. Is this the last we see of Drew Brees?
I think so. It sure seemed like it. He was pretty emotional. Yeah, I think we also had a conversation you had with Tom Brady on the field as well with their families, and it just feels like he knows it's time to walk away. I mean, he is no doubt a top 10, maybe a top 6 or 7 quarterback of all time. He's going to have all these records that will probably be broken by Brady, or who knows who's next, Mahomes one day. But it's just reached that point. He's the weakness on the team. It's crazy to say. He is undoubtedly the biggest weakness on the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints would like to move on gracefully as well. I mean, I think it sounds like the Steelers are going to keep rolling with Ben Roethlisberger, but I really thought that they were going to get to that point themselves, that it's in the best interest of the organization to go a different direction. I mean, it's not easy to have that conversation, but it seems like the Saints and Drew Brees can have that conversation, or maybe the Steelers aren't quite there yet, just because Brees maybe has that self-awareness to kind of see, you know what, I just don't have that fastball anymore, and I've done a lot in this game, got my health. I just tried playing with all these broken ribs. That was a risk in itself. You know, let's walk away. I guess I'd be surprised if he kept going.
I'd agree with you. And admittedly, this next question is, I think it's easier for me to say, right? Sitting here in New York, I'm not Sean Payton. I didn't work with Drew Brees every single day for the last 15 years, see the impact he had in the city. But just especially watching that game yesterday, you kind of saw signs of decline coming. And then yesterday, really, obviously, as we saw, 3 interceptions. It was a bad game all around for Drew Brees. If you were Sean Payton, do you think he should have at all tried to put Jameis Winston in the game, maybe after that second interception, maybe after the third interception, just to give your team a shot? Or at this point, because they committed to Drew Brees, it's basically you're going to go down with the ship, whether he plays good or whether he plays bad?
Yeah, I think you go down with the ship. That's a great question. And it's a question I think that maybe does pop into coaches' heads more often than we think. I mean, when Brett Favre is looking like he wants nothing to do with the cold at Lambeau Field in 2007, I'm sure that's Mike McCarthy's mind. I got Aaron Rodgers back here, and he looked damn good against Dallas early in the year when he kind of had to come in. So, yeah, I think it does enter your mind, but I think that Sean Payton and Drew Brees, everything they've been through, that he owed it to him and figured, maybe there is one last push. I don't think Jameis Winston comes in and beats the Bucs by any means. But it probably would have. It would have been different because that game got away from them in a hurry, and it was because Brees gave it away.
I would totally agree. Yeah, I understand. Like I said, it's easier for me sitting here with no emotional connection to Brees to say that if I'm Sean Payton, hey, this guy gives us a better chance to win. But like you said, I mean, they did go all in. There's a lot of emotion there. I think it maybe makes it easier for Drew kind of to go out now, kind of with on his shoulders at least with the loss, and like I said, being the weak point of the team for sure. Finishing up with Tyler Dunne quickly here, Tyler, because you've been gracious for your time, so thank you so much. I want to finish off with this. Something that happened not in the playoff games that we saw, but what is brewing it down in Houston with the Texans and Deshaun Watson. It is just feels like it's getting worse and worse by the day. Now there's reports that the Texans already seemingly are thinking about maybe potential trade partners, thinking about what life would be like if they do in fact trade Deshaun Watson. I'm curious because at least from this perspective, I'll put it this way. Cal McNair, right, single-handedly, it seems like he is the driving wedge between Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Everything he does, whether it's listening to Jack Easterby, maybe it's just, his lack of self-awareness and realizing everything he does is just driving a further divide between Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Is there, because there's no real way to, but should owners of professional sports be held more accountable for their actions, right? Because let's just say if things go really bad, they can't repair this, Deshaun Watson is traded. I mean, Cal McNair's not going to get punished in terms of he's not going to lose a team. Maybe, revenue in terms of attendance will go down for a little bit, but, the NFL is a money-making juggernaut. They'll still make their money, no problem. Should there be a way to hold owners more accountable to prevent situations where the owner is seemingly single-handedly is driving away one of the best players in the league, the face of the city? He's driving away. Is there any way to hold these owners accountable?
Great question. I'd say the court of public opinion is pretty strong. I mean, look at what you have there in New York, right, with James Dolan. And you hear that name and just think of certain things. You think of ineptitude. Granted, people are still going to the Garden. To pay up for tickets.
Sold out. It's unbelievable. Knicks
really
get 10
is.
wins a year, and there they are. The tickets you can't get them. Like you said, it's unreal.
But I think reputation matters. I mean, you saw NBA stars unwilling to go to the Knicks all the time. That's the case. And I mean, to apply that to the Houston Texans, if that is the case, and Deshaun Watson is that fed up and it is that toxic and it does not sound good, it sounds pretty awful. Then I think that, players are going to see that. They're not going to want to play for the Texans. And I think that the fans, you know what? They're not going to want to go see a product that's not good. I mean, you've got this special transcendent talent in Deshaun Watson, and you can't make it work. That is a reason to not buy season tickets. And I think that's the accountability factor. You're going to have less support. You're going to have, less players wanting to even play for you. The brand, the marketability, the company, the business itself will suffer. And I think that is accountability in this situation. I hear you. What are they going to do? Like take the team away from him? He owns the team. He can do whatever he wants. But it's going to come back around one way or another. He's going to see the effects of this.
Yeah, and hopefully he learns his lesson. It doesn't happen again. I mean, I just try to picture myself as a Texan, even as a Colts fan, with them being in their own division. It's just to lose DeAndre Hopkins one off season, and now to lose Deshaun Watson. And you didn't, if you're a Texans fan, you think you didn't do anything wrong. You did everything right, just to see kind of the owner and the ineptitude that's going on right now just take over. It is. You never, obviously, it's easier to say that you'd be fed up and done because obviously, as we know, the NFL, no one's going to just give up the NFL. But, man, you almost feel like helpless and powerless if you're a Texans fan just watching all that go down. I envy them. That's for sure. Or I don't envy them, I should say. That is just an awful situation
Right. Brutal
to watch go down. Go Long TDs, where you can find all his great work. On Twitter at Ty Dunne, Dunne spelled Dunne. Tyler, thanks so much for the time. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you giving us a few minutes here.
Hey, you got it, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me on, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that was a ton of fun. Again, Go Long TD, an incredibly gifted writer, Tyler. So you can find all his great work right there as well. Again, on Twitter at Ty Dunne, Dunne is on. Oh, it's how you spell Dunne, I should say, on Twitter. So when we come back, I want to discuss what Tyler just said about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. They are in a precarious situation. Do you pay Lamar Jackson? Do you extend him, or are you concerned that, hey, after that last playoff game, maybe we should hold off and see what we should do? Tyler says hold off. Make sure you at least you can guarantee that Lamar maybe one way or another will fit either in a better offense or get a receiver that can help him out. We'll discuss should the Ravens pay Lamar Jackson next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you, coming to you live, as we always are, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, or online wherever you are at BigItalyPizza.com. The Chiefs survive a scare. Anything is possible, including Chad Henne throwing for the eventually game-sealing 4th down and 1 pass, as the Chiefs advance without Patrick Mahomes to the AFC title game, where, by all indications, he should be healthy. And at least I think that was the best opportunity for any team in the AFC and any team personally in the NFL to knock the Chiefs off and prevent them from repeating as Super Bowl champions. And unfortunately, just a sad ending for Drew Brees. We assume that was it. I mean, there's nothing official. After the game, Drew Brees said he's going to take time in the offseason to think about it, evaluate, just like he did the previous few offseasons before he makes a decision. But although all reports, all indications, at least play-wise, indicate that, unfortunately for him, he has taken his last snaps as a New Orleans Saint, and that comes in a crushing 30-20 defeat to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They move on to face Aaron Rodgers in the NFC title game. AFC will be Bills and Chiefs. I think 4 arguably the best teams in the NFL remaining are playing, so we get that treat next Sunday. It'll be a ton of fun. See who gets the battle and go to the Super Bowl. But Tyler hit on it before. I want to go back here to start the second hour and the final hour here, the Ryan Hickey Show, at least on this Monday, of a precarious situation that the Ravens are now in. They are essentially in between a rock and a hard place because, obviously, as we know, they lose to the Bills 17-3. An ugly, ugly game from the offense, especially from Lamar Jackson. He struggles. We'll get to his stats here in a second, but this was a game going into, I thought, the Ravens playing really well. They, the last month of the season, they've been red hot. Win out the final month, go on the road, beat the Titans, get their revenge from last year's playoff loss to them. And I honestly thought, because there's always questions about Lamar Jackson, 0 for 2 in the first 2 postseason tries, that, hey, once he gets the first win, I think that takes a lot of pressure off, and he can play more free, and the team itself can play more free. Because now, instead of worrying and maybe pressing to get Lamar's first playoff win, hey, all right, first one's out of the way, now we can kind of play loose, kind of play free, right? Anytime, if you start something, new job for an athlete, new sport, anytime you get the first one out of the way, the first sale out of the way, you crush your first conference out of the way, there's always a pressure that's lifted once one of the, you get kind of that first benchmark, whatever it is in your respective job. Once you get that out of the way, for me doing the first show, or sometimes if I'm extra nervous, the first segment kind of helps get the nerves out. And from there, all right, first segment's out, you're getting going, you're in a groove here. Now you could be more free, you could be more loose, and you could play some more confidence. So that's personally what I thought was going to happen for Lamar Jackson, this Ravens team heading into Buffalo. First one's out of the way, to play more loose, to play more free. And not only did I think that the Ravens are going to go into Buffalo and win, you also had reports, from Ian Rappaport and others before the game early Saturday that the Ravens are open to a contract extension this spring with Lamar Jackson. As you know, this is his 3rd year in the league. Won the MVP last year. Really, after struggling for almost half the year, maybe even, 3/4 of the year, he really played well. And since coming back from COVID, really kind of helped elevate his play and help get the Ravens in the playoffs. So I thought, all right, before this game, I think that the Ravens absolutely should extend Lamar. No doubt. Then you watch it. 17-3. Lamar Jackson, 196 total yards. 0 touchdowns. No passing touchdowns. No rushing touchdowns. Through that game-changing pick 6 to Teron Johnson that essentially iced the game. That was it. Game over after that pick 6. Because the way the Ravens offense was moving, nowhere they're going to come back from a 2-touchdown deficit. First game in Lamar Jackson's, or I should say, first time Lamar Jackson has been held without a touchdown since his first career start back in November of 2018. So over 2 years, he has yet to be held without a touchdown running or passing. That happened on Sunday or Saturday night against the Bills. And now, as we know, he's 1-3 in the postseason. So the question I'll ask you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. Should the Ravens extend Lamar Jackson? Should they pay him this offseason? Should they hitch their wagons to Lamar Jackson's cart? He already has an MVP under his belt. As we know, he is the catalyst of this Ravens offense. They've designed their entire offensive game plan around Lamar Jackson. Now, also, as we know, for all the good Lamar's done, we have seen quarterbacks get paid for one good year of play, and now teams are regretting it. Carson Wentz to the Eagles. 2017, he would have won the MVP if he didn't tear his ACL. The Eagles back at the Brinks truck, gave him an extension, and now all of a sudden, 2 years later, or I guess 3 years later, the Eagles sitting here saying, oh boy, we are in big trouble. Carson Wentz might be broken. We're going to fire the head coach. If you want to trade Carson Wentz, it's tough because of his contract is so prohibitive. That is a team that maybe not externally, but internally are saying, man, maybe we regret extending Carson Wentz. Jared Goff, same thing with the Rams. You don't think the Rams right now are kicking themselves? Jared Goff goes to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they can handle it, but he plays well enough to get them to the Super Bowl. Extend him, and now here we are, Jared Goff. There's questions, and I mean, essentially, he got benched last week for John Wolford in the playoff game. So, yeah, you don't think the Rams right now are trying to figure out a way, or if they could get another quarterback in, but obviously that contract by Jared Goff is tough to get out of. Kirk Cousins standing with the Vikings. Although, to be fair, they had enough sample size to realize, hey, maybe don't trust Kirk Cousins in the playoffs. They did it anyway. That's on them. But some examples recently, when Scott Cousins, of contracts handed out that now teams are regretting because it makes it prohibitive from bringing another quarterback in, and there is a defined ceiling for what these teams can accomplish, and it is not the Super Bowl. So Nick, would Lamar Jackson, in your mind, end up on this list? Would he be in the same conversation as a Carson Wentz, as a Jared Goff, where teams are regretting it a year from now, 2 years from now, and there's no wiggle room to where basically you are committed now to a quarterback that you don't have much belief in? Or would it end up more to a Deshaun Watson type where, guess what, he is worth the money. This contract is worth paying him all that money. Now, you heard Tyler Dunne just say before when we had him on. He, as a big Lamar Jackson fan himself, he is very hesitant in paying Lamar Jackson a massive Deshaun Watson type contract. He would rather see Lamar in a different offense. He would get rid of Greg Roman, bring in a new offense, bring in a new scheme that is more aggressive and better schemed to open up passing lanes for Lamar. Because as we saw, he struggled mightily passing the ball. And not just that. Receivers struggled getting open. Wasn't much separation. There wasn't much creativity when it comes to trying to pass the ball from Greg Roman, especially in that playoff game against the Bills. Now, I'll say this. So Tyler Dunne said, all right, respected NFL writer, I would hold off. Honestly, if it's me, I'm not letting Lamar go. I would try to work something out. Maybe you can get him at a little bit of a discount after this last game, after his playoff performance. But to me, I feel safe enough, I feel confident enough to extend Lamar Jackson going forward. And here's why. He is still one of the most dynamic players in the league, right? His skill is second to none. He's in a unanimous MVP just a year ago. He is 31-10 when he starts games. Now, different from Carson Wentz, different from Jared Goff, his athletic ability is something that those guys don't have. He possesses a skill set that no other quarterback in the NFL has. So I don't think Lamar, just because he is still more athletic, he is faster, and he is better than a lot of the defenders on the field, I don't think he's going to be a one-hit wonder like Jared Goff was back in 2018. I don't think he's going to all of a sudden now become broken like Carson Wentz is and can't fix him. So I'm not trying to excuse Lamar Jackson's deficiencies. I'm not trying to place blame elsewhere for that Ravens debacle on Saturday night, because that was just an embarrassment for the entire team, especially for Lamar. But I will say this. He had his own mistakes, and he was bottled up. It wasn't all on him. The struggles, the issues on offense for Baltimore was not all on him. Diana Rossini, an incredibly talented ESPN reporter, she put out this interesting tweet early Saturday, or early into the game on Saturday night, when the Bills were starting to get some early stops. She tweeted that, she talks to defensive coordinators, the biggest deficiency in this Ravens offense and the key to stopping Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore offense is basically forcing Lamar Jackson to play outside the numbers. If he's going to run the ball, force him to go laterally. Force him to go east and west, not north and south. Kind of obvious. Okay, that's fair. And force him to throw the ball outside the numbers. If you do so, if you force Lamar Jackson to run east and west, if you force him to throw the ball across the field outside the numbers, you will have success doing so. And the Bills absolutely followed that game plan to a T, worked that held them to 3 points. So I understand, look, Lamar has his own deficiencies in his game for sure. But at the same time, this Baltimore Ravens offense should not be shut down if Lamar Jackson isn't having himself a day on the ground. So in the 5 losses this year that Baltimore's had when Lamar's been a quarterback, because remember, the RG3 and Trace McSorley played in that Pittsburgh game that was rescheduled like 3 different times back on Thanksgiving. But Lamar Jackson has been held to under 75 yards rushing. 4 of the 5 losses this year for the Ravens came when that happened. When Lamar's been bottled up, when he has been able to establish a ground game with his own feet. And I'm sorry, that you just can't have that happen. You can't allow your own offense to go in the tank if your quarterback basically isn't making plays on his own. Isn't dicing up defenses on his own. So I asked Tyler this, and he said, yeah, sure, that could help. He's not sure if it would be the cure-all. But at least to me, coming out of this game, my biggest takeaway was that the Ravens need a stud number 1 wide receiver to take some pressure off Lamar Jackson. Because honestly, what this offense is Lamar basically, here, run the ball, make superhero plays, and just go out there and play schoolyard football, essentially. Run the ball, pass the ball, but just basically rely on your athletic ability to make things happen. And guess what? That is not sustainable. The Ravens need someone desperately on the outside that can win every battle. That's like a vacuum. You throw the ball in his area, boom, catches it. Catches it, boom. Just throw it up near him. He'll win the 50-50 balls. He's like a vacuum, just sucks the ball out of the air, no matter who's around. A safety valve, if you will. Because honestly, who on the outside scares you? Marquise Hollywood Brown has, had some nice games recently. But at the same time, is he really keeping defensive coordinators up Is he giving them nightmares where you all of a sudden now are going to start dropping more defenders in coverage because, hey, we can't get burned by Hollywood? That guy is so good. We got to put 2 or 3 guys on him, take him away, and then worry about Lamar second. No. Teams are loading out the box, 7, 8 defenders, daring Lamar to throw because knowing, really outside of Mark Andrews, no wide receiver is really that good to burn him. No wide receiver is winning one-on-one matchups consistently. No wide receiver is giving this defense nightmares. And that is what the Ravens needed. It worked to perfection with Josh Allen. We'll get to him in a second. And I think it would work for Lamar Jackson. I think it would make paying Lamar that much more enticing. So whether it's, I don't know if you can maybe scrounge up a Julio Jones from Atlanta if they do a fire sale. Whether it's Allen Robinson, he'll be on the free agent market. I'm not sure. I mean, that's a guy who, you talk about catching passes from nobodies. Allen Robinson has been in Jacksonville catching passes from Blake Bortles, then went to Chicago, caught passes from Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. That is a guy who deserves to have a quarterback that can actually get him the ball accurately and on time. So we'll see. Maybe he can be even better because, I mean, Stephon Diggs is a question. You heard Tyler Dunne say the same thing. He had questions whether it would work. Stephon Diggs is not this bona fide number 1 stud that we all thought he was this year. Maybe Allen Robinson is that same guy. I mean, it really is a shame. The biggest shame in all of this is that this situation didn't come up last year because, man, Texans were giving away stud number 1 wide receivers. It's a real shame they don't have another gifted number 1 wide receiver they could just give away for a bargain price that the Ravens could take off their hands. But getting that number 1 stud receiver in here, to me, would be a massive difference for this Ravens offense, and I think would help elevate Lamar's play and thus make it more palatable to extend Lamar, get him locked up long term. Let's just look quickly here what Stephon Diggs did to Josh Allen's play. 2019, just 1 year ago, Josh Allen had the worst completion percentage in the NFL, dead last. 58.8% of his passes were being completed. He had the 9th worst passer rating in the NFL, and he was 24th out of 30 quarterbacks in QBR. So bad, worse, awful in terms of completion percentage and in terms of quarterback rating in the NFL just last year. Not his rookie year, just last year, just 1 calendar year ago. Now, fast forward. You get Stephon Diggs on your team. What happens? 2020, Josh Allen goes from last in completion percentage to 4th. 69.2% of his passes were completed. He goes from having the 9th worst passer rating in all the NFL to having the 4th best passer rating in the NFL. 24th out of 30 in QBR last year, 3rd in QBR this year. So yeah, one guy could change it all. It did for Josh Allen. I think it would do the same thing for Lamar Jackson personally. It would take not only some pressure off him in the run game, because defense have to allocate now more resources to stopping a number 1 wide receiver. It gives Lamar Jackson a bona fide number 1 receiver to throw to, so that when they do throw, there's a guy there you can have confidence in that will game in and game out provide and play really well. Because there's no right now receiver on the Ravens that can do so. There isn't. There's no one on that team that scares you. So I agree with Tyler Dunne, the offensive coordinator. A new offensive coordinator could help. A number 1 wide receiver could absolutely change the deal. But at least to me, looking at Lamar's athletic ability, looking at the skills he possesses, I still would extend Lamar Jackson. I understand that, the taste in your mouth from the latest performance isn't great. You're very frustrated. But I wouldn't personally let this last performance sour my thoughts on Lamar moving forward. I think this team is very close to getting over the hump, to getting a Super Bowl. I think the number 1 wide receiver would do so. And I honestly think paying Lamar would be a smart investment. I would. And this is from someone who had his own doubts. I did not think Lamar Jackson would be successful in the NFL. But now here I am almost 2 years later saying extend him. I don't think now this could come back to bite me for sure. Sure, old takes exposed or whoever will save this, if Lamar Jackson gets hurt or is a bust. But I don't think he would end up like a Carson Wentz contract, like a Jared Goff contract. I think it'd be a wise investment personally. So I'm curious your thoughts. Would you pay Lamar Jackson if you're the Ravens? Would you feel confident? Would you feel good? Despite what you saw, and the last performance was not good, would you feel confident paying Lamar Jackson? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts. And when we come back, the Green Bay Packers. Can anybody stop them? Does the Buccaneers defense have a prayer in trying to slow down Aaron Rodgers? We will discuss that next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Oh, my apologies. We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I hit the wrong button. I was trying to scroll over to my notes page and instead hit the refresh button, or the home button, I should say, on the YouTube page where we had our rejoin music. So no music here, but we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network discussing, would you want to pay Lamar Jackson? Would you feel comfortable in giving Lamar a Deshaun Watson type contract, if you will? There's rumors and there's reports that, hey, Lamar could get extended, if you will, by the Ravens. There are some reports heading to the game on Saturday that maybe he could get some money, maybe that the Ravens could be interested in trying to lock him up long term. And does that, and after watching his game on Saturday, does that change your opinion at all? He struggled mightily, to say the least. Offense scored just 3 points. He struggled throwing the ball. And as we know, the season ended in defeat as the Ravens fell to the Bills 17-3. So I'm curious. Would you pay Lamar? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. I would. Personally, I would feel comfortable. This is someone that, again, would pay Lamar, and this was someone who I had my own doubts. I really did. But I think, at least to me, you get him a number 1 wide receiver. I think that changes a lot. And his talent, his athletic ability, to me, is too much to give up upon. So I would feel, maybe get a little bit of a discount, if you will, with how he played recently and some of his struggles in the postseason. But I think this is a guy you definitely do not give up on. This guy I think you want to keep long-term, and I think his contract would end up differently than, let's say, contracts given out to Jared Goff at the Rams and Carson Wentz to the Eagles, where now those teams are looking back a year or two later and being, oh boy, we're in trouble. We are in big trouble. So again, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter, if you want to chime in at all, whether the Ravens should pay Lamar Jackson. On the line, though, I'm very excited to talk C.J. DeSimone. That name hopefully sounds familiar to you, because guess what? He is an extremely talented contributor to the Worldwide Sports Network, writing, incredibly talented, and also hosts Weapons Hot. Every Sunday night, a Jets-featured show, reacting to all 17 games, and a little bit of news. Robert Saleh, the new head coach of the Jets. I'm sure CJ is fired up. CJ is on the line. CJ, what's up, stud?
What's going on, Ryan? Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yo, thanks for calling in, man. How are you feeling? Obviously, tough Jets season, to say the least. But, I mean, at least to me, as a neutral observer, this is one of the best moves. Now it's early, but one of the best moves to be fired up on if you're a Jets fan in a long time.
Yeah, the Robert Saleh hire definitely does give some hope and some optimism for the New York Jets fan base. The Jets go out and get their man. This was a guy who was on Joe Douglas's short list and one of only 2 people who they called back for second interviews. So that says a lot. And Robert Saleh, apparently with his vision, his charisma, and all of his plans for hopefully that he's going to be bringing over to the New York Jets franchise, it is really what sold Joe Douglas. Plus, along the way, his philosophy in regards to how he wants to manage this team. Granted, a lot of stuff has not really been leaked to the media, so a lot of it is all from patchwork and media outlet sources and so on. But it's a complex jigsaw puzzle. But eventually, if you read all the tweets and you kind of put everything together, you can kind of get the gist as to what their conversation was about. And, apparently this right here, it smells like a Joe Douglas hire, which is great. As a Jets fan, you should be incredibly relieved that the Johnson family had absolutely zero to do with this hire. All they had to do was sign the check. That's all they had to do. And as a Jets fan, that's all you wanted them to do. Because Christopher Johnson, the week before, 2 weeks before, right after the regular season ended, came out and openly admitted failure, which is a big deal because this team has failed. It has failed for the past decade plus. They failed not only in the NFL standings, they have failed their fan base. They have failed their season ticket holders. They have failed their PSL holders. So eventually you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, the way that we've been doing things has not been working. And we have a full decade plus to look at, which shows us proof and more than enough evidence that what we've been doing has not been working. So for Joe Douglas to spearhead this hire, tremendous relief for me and I'm sure for all of Jets Nation as well.
100%. And honestly, like that was my biggest concern, CJ, was just like that, we've seen the Johnson family get involved, feels like, all too often, way too much. And I'll be honest, I did not have much faith. Even, I thought Trevor Lawrence honestly should avoid the Jets if possible, because honestly, I couldn't believe that the Johnson family allowed Joe Douglas, the man they hired to make the decisions, to actually make the decisions. They rarely do that. And to your point, right, this Robert Saleh hiring feels like a Joe Douglas hiring. This is a guy that, is a leader, which to me, that was the first and foremost in terms of attributes that the Jets coach needed. Get a leader, because as you've seen really since Rex Ryan, no one's been able to take a hold of this franchise and kind of guide it in the right direction. The Johnson family has been too involved. It's been to their demise. And at least so far, again, we haven't really seen Robert Saleh, what he can do, but I think in terms of on paper, this is one of the best moves you can make, and at least right now, the Jets are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, right now we went from the Jets being an attractive destination to not being an attractive destination to now all of a sudden being a very attractive destination. So, the thermometer definitely went up and down, and different people out there have different opinions in regards to the New York Jets and how attractive this job actually is. But Robert Saleh, in my opinion, is walking into a very unique situation where he completely has a blank canvas. You've got 2 draft picks in the first round. You've got the second most cap space out there for free agents. You've got your pick of the litter as far as how you want to build your staff and what guys you want to bring on. Plus, you have a general manager that 100% has your back. So there are many first-time NFL head coaches that did maybe have not gotten the opportunity to walk into such a scenario as that. But everything that Robert Saleh is walking into basically is a blank canvas. So he's going to be able to mold and to shape this team into his image and what he wants and what he desires, as well as Joe Douglas. So the best part about it is that ownership is staying out of the way.
100%.
Because we saw that when ownership gets involved, that's when things start really getting screwy. So it's good to see your GM and your head coach in lockstep. And, Jet fans should be looking toward the future with finally some hope and optimism after the darkness of the past 10 years.
Was that the general feeling of the show last night? Again, Weapons Hot, 7 Eastern, right? I believe 6 Eastern or 7 Eastern. I apologize. I forget the on Worldwide Sports.
7 p.m. Eastern every Sunday night. Weapons Hot.
So what was the general consensus last night? Was it positive, like you're feeling right now?
It was positive, but also a lot of attention is being paid to now the Deshaun Watson supposedly wanting out of Houston. What would the Jets bring up? Does the Robert Saleh hiring actually mean that Sam Darnold will now stay a New York Jet, or will he be dealt? In my opinion, I still think that regardless of the head coach, unless they come out and say Sam Darnold is our guy and we are sticking with him, then I don't believe anything that's being reported, because Sam Darnold, to me, as much as I love the kid and I've rooted so much for him, I've wanted so much for him to be successful here. But you know what, Ryan? After 3 years, I don't care if Mr. Magoo is coaching you. Okay, you have to be able to pick up something. And even in year 3, he's still making the same rookie mistakes, having difficulty reading defenses. And look, there's only so much that you could blame on Todd Bowles. And I said this last night. There's only so much you could blame Todd Bowles, Jeremy Bates, Adam Gase, Darrell Loggins. There's only so much you could blame on them. Just like there's only so much we could blame on Mike McCagnon. Sam Darnold, to me, in my opinion, from the moment that he stepped into the New York Jets organization, got a raw deal. And I'm sorry, but that's exactly what happened. They didn't build an offensive line. They didn't supply him with weapons. His best weapon that he had in Robbie Anderson, they let walk out in free agency and replaced him with a cripple in Rashad Perriman. Okay? So, I mean, I could go on and on and on in a litany of just ridiculous moves that the New York Jets tried to sell the fan base that, hey, look what we're doing. No, you're not doing anything. Replacing my Milky Way with like a stale Snickers from 10 years ago. Okay?
Oh, I'm with. Listen, as a Colts fan, I'll be honest. I like Sam personally. I think he can thrive. But to your point, part of the I understand what you're saying. A lot of it though is the weapons have been awful. The coaching has been, well, we'll put it nicely, suspect. There's just a lot of bad, like you said, in the 3 years that he's been here.
The coaching has been trash, Ryan. It's okay.
I'm trying to be nice. I don't want to kick a guy when he's down.
Jet Nation has come out and has spoken that the coaching has been trash. It's been trash since Todd Bowles was there. It was trash when Adam Gase walked in.
Probably
and
even
the fact
worse.
that it only took a 10-minute phone call from Peyton Manning to change Christopher Johnson's mind when they were just about to pull the trigger on Mike McCarthy just makes me cringe. And that was the main reason why I wanted Christopher Johnson having zero input in this process.
Oh, I'm with, and I'm
Did
shocked.
Did Peyton Manning come out and apologize to Jets? Oh my God, I didn't realize that Adam Gase was going to be so bad. No, he doesn't care. He hates the Jets. He doesn't care.
You think he knew? Think he knew what an unmitigated disaster this would be, CJ?
I don't think that he knew it was going to be that bad, but I think in the back of his mind, he probably said, wow, this is going to be fun to watch. Adam Gase and Greg Williams. Oh, my God, there's going to be fights on the sideline and this and that. And you know what? We actually saw some of that this year where Greg Williams called out the offense. We saw the turmoil within the locker room actually spill out into the media. And you know what? This is what happens when you have a football team that its defense spends the majority of the time on the field than the offense. And they're only, you can only ride that wave so long, Ryan. The Jets have always had a history of having incredibly tough defenses, incredibly stout defenses, that even on bad teams, your defensive ranks were still top 10, top 15 in pass and run protection. And that's great. That says a lot about the defensive side of the ball. But you know what? On the offensive side of the ball, if you can't put points on the board, what's the difference? It doesn't matter.
I agree.
Because then you're asking your defense to pitch shutouts in order for you to stay competitive for the game, and that's not fair.
Oh, totally agree. So I think it's easy are you all in on Deshaun Watson then?
No, to be honest with you, not really.
Really?
I mean, I like the idea of bringing him in, but then there is also this warning beep that goes on in the back of my head where we could really utilize the draft picks that we have to really solidify and press holds on this team that we don't have to buy free agents for. Because we've seen with Mike McCagnon when he was the general manager, when you go and you give somebody $100 million and they go and they overpay, because we're already going to have to overpay. It's called the Jets tax. Okay, because nobody wants to come and play here. So,
well, I think Deshaun Watson would change that.
Why am I going to address and see when I can address those holes in the draft and actually build a solid core?
So would you want them to draft
two words
a quarterback
that are missing
then?
from that whole thing, Ryan? It's called competitive sustainability. I don't just want a team that's going to be good next year. I want a team that's going to be good for the next 5 years. You see how the Ravens do it.
Yeah.
You see how the Steelers do it.
Oh, I agree.
You see how the Buccaneers are starting to do it. The Saints. The list goes on and on.
Oh yeah.
It's time for the Jets to play big boy football and take pages out of those teams' playbooks to be sustainably competitive for years to come. Because it's not just about winning one Super Bowl. You want to win multiple Super Bowls.
Oh, CJ,
am I right or am I wrong?
No, I'm with. Trust me, I am with you. I'm all in. So you want to be competitive and you want to sustain that competitiveness. Said for a decade. I'm totally with you. But I personally think Deshaun Watson is the guy to do so. So I guess all right. So if you're not all in, let's say you don't want to, because to me, price is 4 first-round picks. I'm doing it. As a Colts fan, I would pay I think 6 first-round picks is worth it, to be completely honest, for someone of his talent and his age. Being 26 next year, he could be in the Jets uniform for a decade. I think he honestly would give you that competitive sustainability that you're looking for. So I'm curious. If you're not sold on him, okay. Are you taking Fields, number 2? Are you taking Zach Wilson, number 2? What are you doing then because you want to build through the draft?
Well, the direction that I would go, I like Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I'm, listen, I'm not going to say I'm totally against bringing Deshaun Watson in. Because if Joe Douglas went ahead and he made them an offer they couldn't refuse and we get Deshaun Watson, okay, what am I going to say? I'm not going to root for the team because we got Deshaun Watson?
Would you do it for let's say 4 first-round picks? The next, so you know.
I don't know if I do it for 4 first-round picks. I'd probably send a package. And I don't think it's going to take 4 first-rounders in order to get it done. I think that with the Texans, I think you could probably get away with maybe 2 firsts or 2 firsts, a second and a third. Maybe you throw in a player. Maybe you throw, I hate to say this because I love this kid, but maybe you throw in a Denzel Mims. Or maybe you Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold, plus 2 1s, 2 2s, take it or leave it. That solves their quarterback. That solves their quarterback situation because now they're at least getting something in return.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a number of different things that you can do. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, Joe Douglas might end up making a bad deal and so on. Look, Joe Douglas completely fleeced Seattle for what he got for Jamal Adams.
I agree, which is why I think that the price for Deshaun Watson is going to be even more. And you got 2 firsts for Jamal Adams. I personally, I think you'll get more. The Texans will want more. There's going to be a market. I think I made the argument last week. I think 30 out of the 31 teams that could get Deshaun Watson. I think to me, the Chiefs are the only team that could justify not doing it. Age, competitiveness, consistency. I think there's a case to be made for 30 out of the 31 teams that are out there that aren't obviously the Texans and to me aren't the Chiefs that honestly couldn't justify not going after him. That you couldn't make the claim that he's not an upgrade over your current quarterback. So there's going to be a lot of competition.
But here's also another thing here, Ryan, is that you also have to take a look at Robert Saleh as a head coach. Do the head coach and GM come together and do they say, is this a guy that I want to pursue? Or do I still want to build this team in my own image? I mean, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm having this conversation with Robert Saleh, and I'm saying, what do you want to do as far as the quarterback situation? There's still a lot of moving parts. And I still think that the Jets are probably, aside from the Jaguars, are probably in the best position to actually make a trade like this happen. It would absolutely shock me if the Jags made this deal, which I think, believe it or not, would be a blessing for them because then you know what happens. Trevor Lawrence
Look who's coming to Broadway.
So, I mean, for me, the way that I look at it is like this. Whatever the Jets do at the quarterback situation, they have to upgrade from Sam Darnold.
Oh, totally.
Now, if they decide that they want to hang on to Sam, that's fine. That's not going to be a deal breaker for a lot of fans because, they're going to want to see what you do. But here's the thing. If I'm hanging on for Sam Darnold for one more year, I'm not picking up that 5th-year option. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell the kid straight out, if you're going to stay here and you're going to be the future quarterback, you're going to have to ball out. And you're going to have to show us what you're made of. And if not, you're out. And you put it all in the kid's lap. Because after year 3, sure, you could blame it on Gase. You could blame it on an incomplete offensive line. You could blame it on lack of weapons, whatever. At the end of the day, the kid still has to show you something. In year 3, he took a major step back. So in year 4, under a new offensive system, that especially caters to that could potentially caters to what he does well. If he still can't get it together, no, you don't pick up that 4th-year option. You say, thank you for your service. It's time for you to go, and we'll move on to the next one. Because you know what, Ryan? We know how the NFL draft process works.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how every year in college football, every year there's always that quote-unquote generational talent. Wash, rinse, repeat. This is what we hear every single year. Oh, this guy's a can't-miss prospect. Oh, that guy's a can't-miss prospect. Or the other guy's a can't-miss prospect. Whatever. I am so numb to it that it's beyond ridiculous. So if you're going to stick with Sam, he's got to – you take 2021 season, and here's your audition. Can you prove to us that you're the guy? If not, get to stepping. Because we'll draft the next young guy, and we'll be able to address our offensive line. We'll be able to address more weapons. We'll be able to address more needs on defense. We'll be able to fortify this team for, again, competitive sustainability.
CJ, I'm 100% with you. Kevin Jackson, a fellow contributor, very talented Worldwide Sports Network contributor as well. He's listening to our conversation on Facebook, writes 3 1s and a couple of mid-rounders he's in. Doesn't want to trade Mims. He goes, oh, no, not Mims. But 3 1s and a couple of mid-round picks for Deshaun Watson. He is locked in to have him in the green and white next year. CJ, so I didn't mean to hijack the conversation. I apologize. What do you want to call in about? Was it the Jets?
So, I'm sorry. Say again, Ryan. You cut in and out there for a moment.
Sorry about that. No, I said I didn't mean to hijack the conversation. What do you want to call in about?
Well, I actually wanted to call in because, one, I don't get the opportunity to talk to you all that often. The only time we really get to talk is through Instant Messenger sometime and Facebook stuff through the page. So one of the things I did want to talk about is I kind of liked how you had this little topic about holding the owners accountable.
Yes.
All right. And perfect case in point. Who have we just been talking about for the last few minutes? The New York Jets. Okay? Mr. Woody Johnson, Mr. Christopher Johnson, in the mecca of the media capital of the world. And you have a dumpster fire of an organization that because you make baby powder and Q-tips and Tampax and baby oil and all that other stuff, it does not mean that you are competent enough to run a football franchise. That is why you hire football people.
CJ, the funny part, they hire football people and then they don't let them do their job. I'm with you. And that's my biggest frustration with ownership is that, in all professional sports too, because, I mean, baseball, personally, I think the owners are killing the sport right now, and that's a whole topic for a whole other day. But to your point, especially like what you're seeing in Houston, like like you said, you've seen it with the Johnson family. We've seen it here being in New York I'm 26. For as long as I can remember, at least just this team just not allowing the people that how to do the right job. And the Jets have been a laughingstock for the most part of the last 2 decades, obviously give or take a few years here and there. But to your point, it's like one person or one family has such a control over your team's fate. And it sounds, like, all right, like, franchise quarterback can change your fortunes or a head coach can change your fortunes. But it honestly goes back to the owner of your team. If they don't let the people that they hire do their job, if they don't run a competent organization, let alone just putting the right pieces in place and letting the people they hire do the right thing, you don't have a chance to succeed. And it's so frustrating because now could you imagine like being a Texans fan, right? You have Deshaun Watson. This is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He does all the right things in the community. He's a great teammate. He's a great leader. He does everything. He is basically your quintessential franchise quarterback, everything you could possibly want. From a fan perspective, from an owner perspective, from a coach perspective, he is there. And to watch your franchise, basically, and watch your franchise quarterback get so upset at the team, not because they're losing, not because the head coach stinks and he's on his way out, not because the GM doesn't know what he's doing, because the owner not only doesn't know what he's doing, but everything he does, his lack of self-awareness, is just driving a wedge deeper and deeper and deeper. And basically, anytime he talks, anytime he speaks, any action that he does, only creates a bigger divide. Like, I would be besides myself if I was a Texans fan, realizing that, hey, we did nothing wrong, right? You try to win. It didn't work out. But you know what? You still have the guy. You have the most important piece in all of sports set. And now to watch your owner basically, with his actions, lying to Deshaun Watson, keeping him in the dark, not keeping him in the loop, and even just abiding by the simple request. He's not asking you to hire someone. He's not saying, hey, hire this guy, or hey, hire this GM, or do what I say. He's saying, just interview them. You want they actively sought out to get his input. He talked to them, and this is what I like. And this is some of the qualities that I want. We need a culture change here. This GM, I think, has a good opportunity. This head coach, I think, could be good here. Just this is what I think from a player perspective, speaking for most of the team. And then for the owner, whether he's listening to Jack Easterby, whether he just doesn't know what he's doing, basically does the antithesis of that and basically slaps Deshaun Watson in the face. It's like, I honestly, if I was a Texans fan, this would be almost enough for me to just give up on the team, to be honest. That's how frustrated and upset I would be. And it's just like there's no repercussions. Like you said, you've seen the Johnson family for 2 decades now. It feels like just screw this team up with no repercussions, because the NFL is a moneymaker, right? No matter what they do, fans will watch. The NFL, they're going to get their money no matter what. Maybe attendance goes down a little bit, but it doesn't matter. They're going to get their money one way or another, and that's what it is for them, an investment. And it's like to have no repercussions, no consequences for basically being incompetent. It is just infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that what kind of makes me think of all of that is I'm sure you're old enough to remember what happened with the Milwaukee Brewers when the owners were apparently just pocketing the money. They were paying teams below the minimum. They were paying players below the minimum. And then Major League Baseball essentially had to step in and seize control of day-to-day operations before that ownership group was able to find another ownership group to actually sell it. They were actually forced to sell the Brewers.
Right.
So in a way, you almost kind of wish that the NFL had a similar policy where they see that a particular team, okay, just circling the drain. And despite the fact you still have other teams that are doing well and the NFL is making money, if you guys are really interested in the whole competitive balance thing and everyone having an equal opportunity to be able to be good, and then you just have one team that just stinks year after year after year, and you know, whether it's coaching, whether it's front office issues, whether it's this, whether it's that, at some point the league has to step in and say, okay, what's going on here?
Right.
I mean,
look,
for the league. It's been perpetually bad for the past 20 years. What's going on here? So I think something like this, especially with the front office and especially with the ownership, I don't know if it's enough for the NFL to step in and to actually say something, but I definitely think phone calls should be made, like, what is going on over there?
And then, like,
because I had hoped that would happen with the New York Jets. Let me tell you, I started getting really excited when the allegations of Woody Johnson and sexual misconduct started coming out in the UK, and his making racist and sexist comments. And I was like, could it be that the Johnsons are going to have to sell the Jets? Yes, we could have new owners. I mean, just imagine how New York Mets fans feel right now, knowing that they have an owner that's committed to winning and is not afraid to stick his hand in his pocket and spend, okay? The same thing with the Brooklyn Nets, okay? But if you take a look at other teams like Jacksonville, where Shad Khan, you know, he makes personnel decisions. He's the one who makes the front office decisions and so on. But yet, what qualifications does he have to do so? You're not a football guy.
Right.
So I really don't even know what Shad Khan does.
I couldn't agree more. And I'll leave it this, CJ, because we do have to run here as the show's about to end. But I'll leave it this. And I totally agree. It's just like, I understand it's a business, right? And that's maybe the most frustrating part is, like, these guys, obviously there's enough wealth to go, and you can buy a team. Congratulations, you deserve it. And a lot of them do treat it like a business. And now, like I said, some sports it's different than others, but for the most part, it's a money-making business. And as we've seen, like I said, as long as those checks are coming in, some of them think they can, call the shots. Some of them will let the football people do. But a lot of the owners, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there are owners that own professional sports teams that winning is not the first priority. It's not even the second or third priority for most, right? It is, whether it's a status, whether it's just making money, it is. And I understand, in the free country that we are, you can do what you want. But at the same time, it's like, personally, at least for these leagues, I understand they're run by the owners. The commissioner basically is working for the owner. So there's never going to be power to where they can remove an owner for basically unwillingness to win or not trying their best to win. But when you think about it from this perspective, right, who really puts the money in these owners' pockets? I understand, the leagues are profitable with all the TV contracts, but it is the fans, right? As corny as that sounds, going to games, watching the games, for how popular the NFL is, it's popular because we watch it, we like the sport. As soon as we stop watching, all of a sudden, money starts getting lost. That's when changes are made. And it's like, again, even in Houston, what's going on right now, like Deshaun Watson gets traded. I'm not sure how many Texans fans now are going to be running to buy season tickets. How many are going to be watching this team? If he's not on the team this year, they're 0-16. They are by far the worst team in the NFL if he's not there. And even just with the career year he had, they still only won 4 games. So there is a lot wrong with this Texans team where if you trade him, I understand another team's going to get happy, right? Maybe it's the Bears, maybe it's the Jets. All of a sudden, another big market team now gets this influx to where all of a sudden they'll be going to, they'll be going to games more. They'll be watching the games more. And Houston takes a hit. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not committed to winning, I feel like that you owe it to the fans to prioritize winning if you're an owner. If not, bring someone else in. There's enough wealth in this country to where someone else who wants to win is able to buy the team. Like you just said, being a Mets fan, I mean, the best day of my life, honestly, as a sports fan, was when the Wilpons sold and Steve Cohen bought the team. By far the best day of my life. And you see what a committed committed owner to winning, how it changes the fan base, how it changes really the perspective of the team. For agents that want to come to the Mets, it's contagious. So personally, I would like to see that, be the first and foremost motivation for anyone who tries to buy a sports team. Committed to winning, and if not, we will bring someone in who will try to win. And again, it doesn't mean you have to win, but if you are committed to winning, if you're putting the resources there, if you're spending the money, if you're trying to put your team in the best position to win, if that means taking a step back for trying to refortify your draft picks and get younger, that's one thing. But to cut salary like we've seen in sports, to jettison your best quarterback and one of the best players in the league just because you don't know what you're doing, you're listening to bad advice, like. There has to be some sort of consequence from that. That's just my frustration, and that's when you see in Houston,
I'll leave you with this, Ryan, because I know you're coming up against it. George Steinbrenner wasn't the only one who was onto something, and he got. I remember in the mid '70s because he was one of maybe a couple of owners that were not afraid and openly came out and said, "I'll take the money out of my pocket to reinvest in this team and get the best players possible because I want to win." And how much of that now, from George Steinbrenner's philosophy, where people thought that he was just, a maniacal lunatic, how much of those philosophies now starting to be repurposed, so to speak, and cleaned up and polished, but all boiled down to the same thing when you just want to win?
100%. CJ DeSimone, this guy's voice better sound familiar. Weapons Hot every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, right there. Jets fans especially. I know you want to tune in now because you are fired up for the future. CJ, appreciate you calling in, man. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me on, Ryan. It was a privilege, and this was a real treat to come in and spend some time with you. Thank you again for having me on.
Anytime. Hopefully we can do it again, man. That was a lot of fun. The great CJ DeSimone. Weapons Hot again every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, right here, exclusively, as you know, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So that's going to do it, at least for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Really do appreciate CJ for joining us a few minutes here. Really do appreciate Tyler Dunne for giving us a few minutes earlier, talk about and react to all the division round games in the NFL. Enjoy your Monday. Hopefully it is great. Hopefully your week is off to a great start with us. We will be back here on Thursday. So stay safe, stay sane. We'll talk to you on Thursday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Worldwide Sports Radio Network.